Thank you for joining us on World Ranger Day. So World Ranger Day is actually tomorrow. It's July 31st. So before we get everyone in here, I just want you guys to brainstorm in your head, put some ideas in the chat. We're going to be going through, we're going to be doing some Q&A with some of our Rangers here. So if you got any questions, please feel free to ask them once we go through. But first, I want to leave you with a question. What is a Ranger? In your own definition, if you could type it in the chat, so you can yell out some of the answers. What is a Ranger?
What do Rangers do?
An outdoorsy special force guy.
Yeah.
And any other guesses, people? Not Walker, Texas Ranger, not the Texas Rangers. Emma says a ranger protects the forest and animals that live there.
That's okay. No, that's more important.
Emma said a ranger protects the forest. And then what was the other part? And the
animals that live there. And Savannah says protect people and animals as well. And are they part of the Army? That's a good question, because you hear about Army Rangers. So if you're a park ranger, are you an Army Ranger too? Good question.
Very good. Yeah. So these are all great examples. And that's very important. When we talk about Rangers, this is World Ranger Day, remember? We're talking about our park rangers here in North America, but we're also talking about our rangers over in Africa as well. You know, the ones that are stopping the poachers from the rhinos and elephants. And I just want to ask you guys, why do we celebrate World Ranger Day? Why do you think this is something that we celebrate tomorrow? You could put a few things in the chat.
Why do you think we celebrate World Ranger Day all around the world? And Kobe mentioned, I'm not sure. I don't know. Savannah said because it's an important job. Mackenzie said just to thank the Rangers for what they do to protect us and to protect the animals.
It is an important job.
Very good. So yeah, that's what we're looking for there. We celebrate this because we commemorate all the Rangers that are out there giving their lives every day. You know, we're not just talking about North American Rangers like I talked about. We're also talking about those Rangers in Africa that are stopping poachers from all those elephants to get in their tusks, but also the rhinos as well. But even our Rangers here in North America, we're commemorating them every day for what they do. So a little history about some of the Rangers. We'll do a little brief history. Some of our Rangers actually started in England in the 1400s. Were actually patrolling the forest lands. They were kind of like knights in the area, patrolling the land from robbers, from thieves. We have more Rangers from North America actually go early to a Revolutionary War. Some of our Rangers were actually guides and interpreters with the Native Americans. A lot of our Rangers actually helped turn the tide of the Revolutionary War. So they were the ones that knew the areas, knew the forest, so they were able to get a jump on the British. Then we kind of moved on to the 1900s. And then we got this idea of conservation. Do we know what conservation is? I know some of you have joined me for earlier sessions with PA Virtual Charter, and I talked a little bit about conservation. Can anyone tell me what conservation is? Type some things in the chat what you think conservation might be and why we do it as Rangers.
We're testing you from the last time. How many people remember?
All right. If you remember what conservation is, you could definitely put it in chat. And if you don't, that's okay.
One more second.
Help species live.
Sorry, I like that.
That's when the water evaporates and becomes the clouds, right? That's conservation. Oh no, that's
Very
condensation.
Close. That
Oh,
might
I'm
be
sorry.
Condensation you're thinking of. That might be another lesson, but very close. Conservation goes along with condensation, sure. But yeah, conservation, we're protecting our resources here, right? In the early 1900s in Yellowstone, that's when our conservation rangers started. We wanted to make sure that we keep these unique resources that we have in our parks. If we don't have these resources, people like you can't come to these parks and enjoy and recreate, okay? So now we talked a little about conservation. We're going to get into a little bit about our Q&A with our Rangers here. So if we get a little closer here, we'll talk a little about, we'll introduce everyone here. Right here, we got Justin from Hopewell Furnace. Now you can notice his uniform is a little bit different than what Nate's would be here for state parks and James. All you can see is all these uniforms are a little different. I have a few pictures here to show you a historical aspect of Rangers. So when I was talking about those 1900 conservation Rangers, we'd probably be looking at something like this. You know, we don't have any badges here. We got the hats that we still got going on. Then we're going to move on a little bit. So we even got those Rangers in Africa I was talking about. These are really good conservation Rangers. Maybe go a little bit more with preservation because they're preserving all of those unique animals they have, those endangered animals in Africa. And of course, we got our Lady Rangers here. This is a good 1960s uniform for the Lady Rangers. You see it's almost turning. This would be national parks in the 1960s. So Justin's representing national park uniform right here. He's part of the national parks, which is owned by the federal government. And we're over here with state parks, which would be the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So this is more state agencies. So I'm going to go over here to Justin here. Justin's going to represent our interpretive ranger. And when we're going through these rangers here, I want you to understand rangers are something we like to call as a jack of all trades. We do everything. Justin does interpretation, but hey, if there's a toilet clogged, he might have to go and unclog the toilet too. We are a jack of all trades. We do it all. So Justin primarily focuses on interpretation. Interpretation is essentially telling a story. So when you go to his site at Hopewell Furnace, which is right next door to French Creek, he will be discussing iron making and the process of what they used with colliers and iron making process in the early 1700s to the late 1800s. So this is Ranger Justin. He's the interpretive ranger. He likes to tell the stories about the furnace, but he does a lot of other things as well. So would you be able to talk a little bit about Hopewell Furnace and
sure.
what you do there?
So Hopewell Furnace is an iron making community, and they made iron from circa 1771 to 1883. And in that time, they made all sorts of iron products, from cast iron stoveplates to tools, pig iron bars, and even cannons during the American Revolution. And if you come and visit Hopewell Furnace, you're going to see a lot of buildings that remind you of farmland and barns, but then also buildings that remind you of industry, such as like a cast house and a coal blast furnace. So Hopewell Furnace is actually special because we're known as an iron plantation. It's a rare, but still, or excuse me, it's a lesser known, but still important chapter in industrial history.
And any other duties that you do perform at Hopewell Furnace? Like I said, we are the jack of all trades. We do it all. So on top of that, what else would you be doing?
Yeah, so I work with social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things of that nature. I'll also be helping with special events and living history programs. I'll be giving talks. I will be unclogging the toilets, as Jared said. So a whole host of different activities.
Awesome. Wow.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Justin until we move on to our next person here? So interpretive ranger here.
So
Very cool.
is Hopewell Furnace just one furnace, or is it like a bunch of furnaces?
So Hopewell Furnace refers to just one furnace. However, in southeastern Pennsylvania, it's like the Silicon Valley of the iron industry. So while we just represent one furnace, there are multiple furnaces and ironworks around us.
Very cool. Look, guys, park rangers don't ever get to stop. They're always involved in something, huh?
There is something that came up that I did want to bring up. Someone had brought up I guess a fun fact that in early days of park rangerdom, if you will, the rangers at Yellowstone Park sometimes had to hunt wolves to help like protect the area. So do rangers ever have to do things where not necessarily hunt animals, but maybe make sure that animal populations stay at a certain level in different parks?
Yeah, definitely. And that goes along with conservation. Remember that vocab word, conservation? A lot of the times we have to regulate population with animals. That's why hunting is a good conservation aspect. If we didn't have hunting here, for example, at French Creek State Park, we would have deer running everywhere. We'd have people hitting deer constantly. They have a biophysical capacity is the term that we have. And there's only a certain amount that can live in a certain area. And our hunters are something that's called a limiting factor. So we help limit the population when it comes to deer. So one thing that we don't want to do is have someone hit a deer and then that deer is injured and we're actually going to have to put it down or take it to a rehabber or something. So if we have conservation and hunting in this park, that actually helps us in general with resources, because if we have too many deer, they eat too many of our resources, they eat too many of our trees, and therefore that they won't have enough resources for the other animals. So yeah, that's a great question. Very good, very good. So save a few of your questions to the end. I'm going to go on to our next. This is Nate right here. Nate is going to be our desk ranger. He's essentially going to be more customer service and trail maintenance savvy. So Nate, if you want to talk a little bit about your duties as a ranger there.
Absolutely. My name's Nate. Like Jared mentioned, I'm a Ranger 1 over at French Creek State Park. I'm a jack of all trades, like he also mentioned. So I do a lot of interaction with visitors who come to the park, but also I get to dip my toes into some minor public safety, helping out with maintenance crews and also educational opportunities. Our park offers recreational activities for thousands of visitors each year. So whether people are hiking, biking, hunting, fishing, or kayaking on our lakes, I try to provide my knowledge of the park and the surrounding area to make sure people are having as much fun as possible. Yeah.
Very cool.
Very good. Yeah. So I actually had two other rangers here, but they disappeared. The reason that is because at any time, at any moment, an emergency could happen. And something unfortunately happened that actually had to take two of the rangers away. I had two other rangers I wanted to talk about. The first one was going to be law enforcement ranger. He was here. He had his full duty belt, completely commissioned officer. So he's ready to go at any time, just like now. You know, he was going to be here with us today, talking a little about law enforcement aspects. But unfortunately, he had a call, so him and our other ranger had to go out. So his job is essentially enforcing the park, making sure people are having a good time, being safe, not being too loud in the campgrounds, but also resolving issues that are happening in the park. Medical emergencies happen all the time. They are trained EMTs, another jack of all trade. Yes, he's a law enforcement officer, but he's also a trained EMT and trained in CPR. So he had to go out on a call along with my management ranger. Our management ranger is the one that oversees this whole park, does more of the paperwork, administrative ends. But with doing meetings, talking to clients, he also has to do stuff like this. He also has to do law enforcement. He also has to do EMT. So two of our rangers in our Q&A section actually had to go doing law enforcement, but that just comes with our jack of all trade rangers type thing. So that is two that we lost right now. But if you do have any questions about customer service ranger, interpretive ranger, law enforcement ranger, or managerial ranger, please feel free to ask us, and we'll open this up to any questions that you might have right now.
We did have a question. Now,
Yeah.
do they get to carry weapons, the enforcement officer?
Yeah, so our law enforcement ranger, he probably would have showed you his whole duty belt there, but he unfortunately had to go. He does carry a weapon. He has a sidearm with him, and he has a full duty belt with pepper spray and some like a nunchuck type thing that he'll use, as well as our management ranger also carries that besides the firearm. But yes, they have to be equipped and ready to go at all times. So yeah, good question.
They're keeping everybody safe.
Absolutely.
Hey, two quick questions. Jared, what kind of ranger are you? I don't know if you mentioned that.
So I would be the same term as Justin right here. I'd essentially be the interpretive ranger. I do all the educational stuff. I'm considered more of a naturalist. So I'll do all of the educational programming, kind of like what we're doing today. So I'm kind of in the same realm as Justin. We're just in two different government agencies, right? Him being the federal government and us being the state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So yeah.
And how long have all of you been rangers?
So I'll let Justin start with that.
Yeah, I started my first internship in 2014 at Gettysburg National Military Park. From there, I kind of worked sporadically throughout the years. I got my first seasonal position in 2017 at Martin Van Buren National Storage Site.
Awesome.
I've been a ranger for a year and a half now. I was hired back in June 2020, right before all the shutdowns really happened. But I was very lucky to be included in the staff here at the park. It's been a wonderful experience so far.
Very cool.
I started right out of college with Tennessee State Parks, worked there for 2 years, working as an interpretive ranger down there, and essentially came back up here to work as an interpretive ranger here and more of a naturalist at this park. So yeah, we move around a lot, as you know, especially with Justin being the national parks. We have to understand that they are the national parks, therefore they go through the whole United States. So he could transfer anywhere at any time. He could go throughout the whole United States in general, or we could just mostly transfer within the state or other state entities. Every state has a different state park. They all operate differently. Our state parks here in Pennsylvania are free. A lot of state parks that you go to around the United States, you have to pay a fee to come in. So that is one important thing about our state parks here in Tennessee, or our state parks here in Pennsylvania, is that they are free and you can come in at any time to enjoy these parks versus a lot of the other parks that do have fees. So yeah.
Guys, I just want to mention something. When I first got here, I was talking to Mr. Jared and I asked him, how far away do you live from here? And it came up that, guys, a lot of these rangers aren't local to their parks. A lot of them live far away because guess what? There aren't all these parks. Like if you saw a Giant, you could go work at Giant anywhere, but there aren't parks all over the place. So they have to travel from near and far, from different states. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. That's just part of the job. A lot of people want these jobs, and that's some of the things you have to do, sacrifice, is having a long drive or a long commute, but it's worth it. Every day is worth it. So definitely.
Hey guys, I know you all have a program going on, but there have been questions as well that I'm sure you'll go over as the day goes along, as far as, how do you become a park ranger? What do you have to major in college? And also, some of the things you deal with, such as, do you have to deal with a lot of bugs, or do you deal with a lot of different animals all the time? And, what things gross you out, even though you see them every day?
Awesome. So yeah, we'll actually start with that. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Justin, and we'll ask him his whole college experience or his experience in general, how he came into this, and we'll go into those other questions. Okay.
Sure. Well, I'll talk a little bit about myself and then I'll recommend a path for you guys. So basically, I started out as an intern after college. I actually studied history. And after undergrad, I went to Gettysburg for my first internship. Ended up going to graduate school to study public history, which is history outside of the classroom. And while I was in grad school, I needed an internship, so I actually got one at Hopewell Furnace National Historic Site. After that, I got an 8-month fellowship at Flight 93 National Memorial, and then that led to my first seasonal position at Martin Van Buren National Historic Site. After that, I transitioned to St. Gaudens National Historical Park in New Hampshire, and then came back to Hopewell Furnace, and this is my 3rd season here. For you folks starting out, what I would suggest is volunteer and volunteer early. The most that you can lose is a little bit of time, but you're going to gain so much more, even if you don't become a ranger. So you're going to be padding your resume. You're actually going to be doing a public service, so you're going to be investing your time in quality, good things for your communities. And like I said, if you don't become a ranger, you can still use it for college applications or anything that you're interested in pursuing.
Wonderful. Nate, your college experience, if you would.
Sure. So I took a little bit less of a traditional path. I'm actually a criminology major at Albright. You know, I always really loved the nature aspect, and I've, you know, been hiking since I was, you know, basically born. So I realized a little too late that I wanted to do something in the environment. So out of college, I tried to get as much experience as I could with outdoor opportunities. Like I did trail work on the AT in certain, you know, different parks around the United States, more so in the East Coast of the United States. And I just tried to get as much experience in the outdoors, as much experience with customer interaction and visitor services. That would be my one tip to you. You know, whether you're a jack of all trade, like a Ranger 1 or an interpretive ranger, or even a law enforcement ranger, we really are the faces of the park, and we're interacting with people every single day. So just build your confidence with talking to people you might not know, you know, try to find a common ground. And yeah, like just be good. Yeah.
Be a good human, right?
Definitely. And I studied up north in Lock Haven University. I went to school for recreation management, concentrated in the outdoor. So obviously I was into the trees and the animals. And if you are in trees and animals, and you like talking to people, this could be a career for you. This is an awesome job that we love. We love coming to our jobs every day. Even though a lot of our job duties are a little different, a lot of the times we could be doing the same things. Like just what happened here. You know, you never know if you can get a call. Sometime I could be doing a program like this, and we got to go out and search and rescue. We got to drop it all. You know, Nate and I have experienced that numerous times. We're just ready to go home for the day. Just about 1 hour to go, and all of a sudden we get a call that we have to go out and do a search because somebody's lost on the trails. So that's something important as well, is communicating with visitors how trail systems work, knowing the trails, going out and experiencing them yourselves. I mean, a lot of times we were going out hiking on the job, and you know, that helps us in the long run if we're trying to do search and rescues. That way we know the trail. That way we know we can go and find somebody that's lost. So that's something that's very important to our jobs.
How often do you have to do a search and rescue?
So search and rescues can happen at any time. There are a lot of small ones that happen through the years, but what we have been realizing is there's normally 1 or 2 big ones through the years that could take up into the night. We could be searching at the night with flashlights in the rain even. So you never know the conditions, and we're in it throughout all the conditions.
Is it all on foot when you're doing a
A
search
lot
and
of times on
rescue?
foot, a lot of times local agencies call in actually dogs. So a lot of dogs do sniffing, trying to find some people, you know, maybe a lost clothing or something. So a lot of times we're out looking for people very late at night and go a lot over our hours. A lot of times we're also not working, you know, Monday through Friday. We work the weekends, right? So we work a lot of the weekends. That's when people come to the park. Our job is not necessarily to have fun, even though we have fun in our jobs. Our job is to teach people how to have fun and ways that they can have fun in the park. So that's why it's important that we are working weekends. We're not here Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We are here through the weekends. We're here weekend nights, showing people a good time. So yeah, that's just part of the job.
Very, very important jobs they have.
Hey, so someone asked a question. Let's say someone came to the park and they wanted to do like a tour, but they didn't speak English. Do you guys have interpreters or anything like that, or can that be arranged?
So yeah, a lot of times some of our staff are bilingual, which definitely helps. We actually have some outside agencies. We have an older woman that's actually walking around the parks right now. Her name is Margarita. She works for PPFF, which is a Parks and Forest Foundation, which is part of our state park. So we actually have her going around and talking to a lot of Spanish speakers in our park, because we have a lot of Spanish speakers that come to our park. So yeah, she actually helps interpret with them. But two different ways of interpretation. That is one way of interpretation. Our way of interpretation is more telling a story, kind of going through the aspects of the history of our park and different cultural aspects as well. So that's kind of what we mean with interpretation on that end, okay? I know some of you asked about bugs, right? Yeah, we got bugs out there. There are bugs everywhere. We're leading hikes, we're eating bugs sometimes. We get extra protein because we're walking on these trails, eating a bunch of bugs. So that happens a lot. But there are bugs all over the park. You're out in nature, you never know your experience. Raccoons and dumpsters. Man actually made a raccoon ladder, which was super cool. So that way we can get raccoons out of dumpsters more efficiently. So we gotta think outside the box sometimes, right? And that's one way Nate thunk outside the box was creating a raccoon ladder, right? That way these raccoons are scared when we find them in a lot of the dumpsters. So that raccoon ladder is a great help. So we're actually glad that he made that. So some little things like that can always happen. You know, I can be sitting at my desk doing paperwork. Sometimes we gotta go fish a raccoon out the ladder or out of the dumpsters.
You should patent that.
Yes. Definitely. So yeah, any other questions we got?
Wow, very interesting.
Mhm.
What else do we have? Any questions?
You guys got no questions on World Ranger Day? Come on.
Go ahead, Jaden.
I think a lot of the questions you kind of already answered. There
Oh.
was a question about like, hey, has there ever been a time where you had to jump into like a helicopter, or, you know, is there like any type of official park ranger vehicles that you guys have to do? Is there a park ranger motorcycle you guys get on?
Dirt
So,
bike.
There is no state park helicopter. There's no national park helicopter. That would be pretty sweet though. I mean, if you guys can find some funding for that, that'd be awesome. But other than that, yeah, we got state park vehicles. We got vehicles that have our logos on the side. We don't have any crazy motorcycles to do with ATVs. And why do you think we would have ATVs? Let's think about it a second.
Oh, that's a good question.
Why would we have ATVs?
Think about what we were just talking about, maybe.
Yep, goes hand in hand what we were just chatting with.
No, there's no TV out here.
There's not even Wi-Fi. Can you believe that?
We're
We don't
having
have any Wi-Fi.
too much fun to be watching TV.
Yeah, ATVs. So we have ATVs because sometimes we got to get to the trails fast. I mean, we got over 40 miles of hiking trails here. You can actually see the map right here. So this is the size of our park. We have over 40 miles of hiking trails, right? How, if we're at the park office down here, how am I going to walk all the way up there to help somebody out? If we use an ATV, we can get there faster. We can either use the roadways, we can use the trails. That way the ATV is going to go off-road. We're able to get to somebody quick, you know, if they need some water, if they need extra help. So that's one way that we can get to them faster, is using that ATV and some of our park vehicles that we have. So yes.
Can you tell us how large the park was, like you were telling me earlier?
Yeah, so our park is about 9,000 or so acres. So very, very big park. Justin, how big is Hopewell Furnace?
So Hopewell Furnace is 846 acres, and I will add to the previous question about transportation.
Yes.
National Park Service has at its disposal many different types of vehicles, so it just depends what park that you're at. So Hopewell Furnace, I drove here today in a van. If I was out west somewhere, maybe I would have an ATV, maybe we would have helicopters for search and rescue. We have a lot of great folks on staff, professionals that are trained to do that. So I just wanted to include that.
Thank you. Awesome.
Definitely. Very good. So yeah, vehicles are very important, obviously, when it comes to our parks. We gotta have vehicles. So people know, you know, all our ranger vehicles all have lights on it, right? They're gonna have lights, they're gonna have sirens, just in case they need to pull somebody over that's speeding, or in case there's an emergency, people can get out of the way, right? So it's also important to notice all these trails are multi-use. So that means they're used by a lot of different recreational opportunities, a lot of different recreational pursuits. So we got bikers on these trails, we got hikers on these trails, we got horseback riders. So we got a lot of people using these trails. So we have to have adequate transportation in order to go find them, or if they need any help. So yeah.
Has anybody ever been to French Creek State Park that's on our summer camp today? let me tell you, Miss Heather has not, and I'm coming back. There's so much to do here, guys. If you're local or you're up for a drive, and you're, in Pennsylvania, I would definitely suggest coming here. There's so much to do, or find another national park close to you.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys remember how fun Mr. Sheik had on the boat, right? How close he was to that beaver lodge. I think he wants to come back and visit those beavers. So you guys can come too and enjoy the lake as well. I know Sheik was saying he wants to come back. Mrs. Heather wants to come back. So it's definitely a great place to come and enjoy the summer. We actually have junior ranger programs too, both throughout national parks and state parks. Dustin has one right there.
It's an older one. We have a newer one at Hopewell Furnace. But basically the idea behind the junior ranger program is, depending on your age, is how many activities you would have to do. So say you're 10 years old, you would have to do, say, at least 6 activities in the book. Most of the activities are things that would be familiar to you folks. So for example, a word search, a maze, illustration work, all things that you've done in the past. And once you complete the specified amount of activities, you can get rewarded with the Junior Ranger badge. And that's a Junior Ranger program at every national park. They vary in content, of course, but I encourage you to take on that challenge.
Awesome.
Then we also have one here at French Creek. So when you visit French Creek, whether you're camping, you can spend a day over at Hopewell Furnace, do their Junior Ranger. You're open 9 to 5, correct?
Yeah, we're open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's our summer hours. So whenever you guys are around, just come on by.
Definitely. And then you can come and join us. We actually have a Junior Ranger program too. Come on in and answer some of the questions. You got a booklet here, very fun booklet. And then we got your certificate. Once you complete it, you'll get a certificate. And you'll get a nice shiny gold badge here. You'll also get a badge once you go over to Hopewell Furnace and do their Junior Ranger too. So you can wear double badges if you come here and then complete the Junior Ranger programs, right?
Wow, you
So
guys will
that's
be
fun
on your
stuff.
way to becoming a ranger.
Yep. So if you guys want to become a Junior Ranger, this is what you do. Come on out, answer some of the questions, and we'll hook you up with a badge and certificate. So yeah, definitely.
Anybody have any more questions?
I know someone did ask, and I don't want to discuss salaries, but people wanted to know, like, hey, if I was to become a park ranger, how much money could I make? Because they just want to know, hey, if I go to college and then, I want to become a park ranger, is it something that I'm going to need to find a second job if I do it, So I don't want you guys to say how much you make. That's not fun. But, could you tell people an idea of, if they became a park ranger, could they build themselves up to where, they could make a certain amount of money, or however you want to answer that?
Yeah, so the pay that we get is actually public. And if you guys are interested in learning more about these positions and kind of investigating if this is the right path for you, I would encourage going on to usajobs.gov, and then you can see the multiple different positions that the federal government offers. You can check out the pay scale. Of course, you're going to probably start out at a smaller pay scale, but if it's something that you really love and enjoy, I would encourage you guys to stick with it, and the money will come afterwards.
I will say, guys, oh, go ahead, Jared. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it is a thing where you have to work your way up. A lot of people have to have internships in order to get these jobs. This job is about supply and demand. A lot of people want these jobs, therefore they're not a lot of those jobs, right? So therefore they can pay people a little lower too. I'm not saying we're making as much as a CEO in a company, but if you're working a job, and you're fine with your pay and you're enjoying doing what you're doing, I think that's worth it in the long run.
I mean, go ahead, Heather.
They make more than volunteers and less than a Kardashian.
There you go.
How about that?
I will say, guys and ladies, that if you are interested, and not just in park ranger jobs, but it's never too young if you're interested in, hey, this is what I might want to do in my career. Get with your parents, talk to them about it. You are so well advanced in information to find out how much money certain jobs make and how far they can go. And, what if you start in this position as this park ranger, what would be your next step and what you can move to other park rangers. It's always good to research that kind of stuff. Mr. Sheik waited until he was about to go to college to do that, and I wish I would have did it sooner. So if that's an interest, definitely check it out. It is always, and I will say as someone from an adult, and you'll hear this from other adults, it's way better to do a job that you find to be a lot of fun than worry just about how much you make. I promise you that. But Someone did ask if they were part of the park ranger program, but they couldn't make it to the park. Like, are you able to mail the badge, or are they able to do it virtually?
Sure. If you could get your parents to contact us at any way at French Creek State Park, we could find a way to mail you the little booklet. A lot of our booklet is in person though, so it might be hard to answer a lot of the questions. It's more of an experience of you coming to the park is really the big thing. So if you come to the park and complete the booklet, we can find a way to mail you your badge and certificate if you're not able to collect it there. But a lot of our stuff is at the park, and a lot of it is experience in the park in general with you and your family. I don't know about Justin if he has any other.
So if you want to complete the Junior Ranger program at Hopewell Furnace, I would encourage you to come to Hopewell. However, if you can't make it, so it's fine, contact us either by our phone number or email, and we can mail you a physical copy of the Junior Ranger program and a badge, or you can just go on our website, Hopewell Furnace, National Historic Site, .gov, and you can download a copy of our Junior Ranger program there. Next steps would be to fill it out and then to mail it in to us, and then we will send you a Junior Ranger badge in the mail.
Is this something that most parks do? So if we have people who are, let's say, like out in Erie, or there are parks out there that might be doing it too, that are more local to them?
Yeah, I hesitate speaking for every national park.
Right.
There's over 400 of them, but a lot of them, if you do right, of course, will get you that booklet.
Awesome. So this location might be a little far for some of you, like hours too far. So maybe just hop on the internet with mom and dad and check out some parks near you and just see if they have those programs. If you're somewhat local, I would encourage you to come here, but I'm sure there are lots of other programs that are like this one, if you guys are interested. And they also mentioned getting started younger with interning and things like that, because like we had discussed, these jobs are limited, and the more experience you have, probably the better off you'd be.
One more thing I want to talk about, since we're talking about the Junior Ranger program, yes, you can go to all the national parks and collect all those Junior Ranger badges and stuff. I know National Parks has this as well. State Parks has this. This is called a Pennsylvania State Park passport. Okay.
What?
So what you do when you visit all these Pennsylvania state parks, you go to a certain park. So let's see, for example, we're going to go to Hickory One State Park. Okay. You're going to walk into their park office and they're going to give you a stamp. So this is going to get stamped, and then it shows that you visited that park. So it's kind of like a collection, right? You can go ahead and you can collect all the state parks around the area. Also goes along with a lot of the state forests as well. I believe national parks have the exact same thing, right?
Oh yeah, in national parks, there's people who have conventions and conferences around these passport books. So I said that to say this, they're very popular. And we do have them in Eastern National stores or whatever stores we have in our visitor centers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's another cool way to visit the parks, and it also gives you a little something to take home with you on top of the Junior Ranger programs that you go to the parks. This can create some memories, figure out when you were there at the park. So this is a great way to explore a lot of Pennsylvania state parks, but also the national parks in general.
So another quick question for all of you. If someone wanted to kind of prep for their visit to come to a state park, or prep to how to become a junior park ranger, how can they go about doing that? Should they, kind of start looking at like flowers in their own neighborhood or animals in their own neighborhood, or is there anything they should research? What should they do?
So the national park, if you're interested in visiting a national park or a state park, first we'll talk about the national parks. The National Park Service has a slogan called Find Your Park. So I would encourage you guys to either type in to Google or whatever search engine you use for national parks near you. And of course, the internet will provide the answers from there. But there's over 400 units in the National Park Service. And if you're in Pennsylvania right now, I'm not quite sure where you folks are located, but you can be certain that you're not too far away from the national park. So I would encourage you to Google with your parents what national park is next to you, and then start from there.
I also have something to add.
Great.
No, I always encourage people to, if something's tickling your interest, if you're out on a walk with your family or with some of your friends and you see a tree that you might not know, most of us carry phones in our pockets that holds the wealth of human knowledge, like right in our pockets. So if something intrigues you, or if you don't know something, look it up, educate yourself, follow anything that tickles your interest, follow that, and that will also prep you. Coming into either a national park or a state park, you might be able to spot a tree that's like, hey, you might know that tree, but I know that tree, So anything, if you don't know something, look it up and just educate yourself.
So a question for the room real quick for all the kiddies. I know the gentlemen in front of us know the answer to this, so no cheating, don't give us the answer. But how many state parks are in Pennsylvania alone, just in Pennsylvania? Put it in chat. How many state parks are in Pennsylvania? And I'll give you a hint. It's more than 10. 300, little lower than 300, a lot higher than 34. See 25, 250, 40, keep on going up, over 40, over 50. 150 is kind of close, but a little lower. All right, so there's actually 121 state parks in Pennsylvania alone. And with
Way to
that
go,
being-
Sheik.
with that being said, and there's 19 national parks. So thank you, Katie. You got it right with 121. We will not see that you typed it after I said it. You'll still get credit. But that means that there is definitely a park near you that you could go to. And I've been to a lot of state parks. I know obviously the Rangers have been to a ton. They're all have something to offer, and they're all really, really fun. 121, Regan, great job. So, it is something that you all want to definitely check out. And, the Rangers did mention too, some of them have fees, but a lot of them don't. Is that correct?
So none of Pennsylvania state parks have fees. Any state park you go to in Pennsylvania is free for everyone to come. So like you said, it's 121. That's also 121 states you can get in your booklet. And maybe the ones that are participating in junior ranger programs, you can get there too. So all of them are free. You can go to any one at any time. Our lake's actually open at nighttime, so a lot of people come actually overnight and fish on the lake as well. So these are opportunities that we offer at our parks here. So yeah, definitely free for all.
And the cool thing too is like for our friends, I know we have some people that are out in Western PA and Erie and places like that. You can go right over to Ohio. Ohio has a ton of state parks too. So, and I just want to make sure you were mentioning about Hopewell Furnace. Is that in Ohio or is that in PA?
So Hopewell Furnace is actually neighbors to French Creek State Park.
So on the map, you can see it right here.
Okay.
So French Creek's all the green here and the yellow, and you got Hopewell Furnace, it's the red.
So kind of tucked in there.
So
So you
and
can get a 2-for-1.
I will say this because I researched it, so I know some of the kids might get confused too. Now, if you search Hopewell Furnace, what might come up is Hope Furnace Ruins, which is in Ohio. So I just wanted to clear that up, that Hopewell Furnace, the park is right next to French Creek. So don't tell your parents to drive to Ohio, people.
unless they want to, unless they're down for the road trip, right?
Stephen want to know, do you like your uniforms?
Oh yeah.
Do we like our uniforms?
Yeah, or like, are they comfortable? Do you mind wearing them?
Actually, I'm wearing a new version of
Oh.
our uniform, and I really like it. Before, it was a different material and a darker gray. This is a lighter gray. It's breathing.
Oh,
It's
fancy.
like vents and stuff. I don't know if you can see.
Mm-hmm.
But it really helps because you're outdoors a lot. You do have some office work here and there, but you're also outdoors. So it really does help. The one thing that I really like about this uniform here is that we have cargo pants now.
That would be
So
important.
The cargo pants really come in handy, and I haven't had them before this season. This season, I use them every day. So that's my uniform.
Do you guys always wear pants because you're outside?
So not everyone wears pants, and if you go to different national parks, you're going to actually notice different uniforms. And even if you go to one national park, you'll notice different uniforms. It just depends on what your job is. So for example, I have a Class A uniform, and it includes this flat hat, we like to call it. I'm basically dressed for interaction with the public, for interpretation and education programs, and also visitor service interactions. However, if you work in maintenance and you're working hard out there, cutting down trees or whatever we have to do to preserve and conserve our lands, you would wear maybe a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, for example. So it just differs.
Awesome.
Yep, same with ours. I mean, ours is a little bulkier than Justin's. He's got some breathability there. Ours are really hot and sweaty. So when we're doing trail work and stuff, a lot of times we're wearing this. A lot of times we might change into t-shirts too. But remember that term, jack of all trades. You know, we're doing this education right now. In about an hour or two, I might be out doing trail work. So it all depends. And definitely, if you like to get sweaty, this is definitely the uniform for you.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to drink a lot of water, right? So you stay hydrated. So yes, we like our uniforms. It's easy for the public to identify us, obviously. That's one of the biggest items is, you know, if we're just wearing a t-shirt and jeans, we may blend into the public a little more. This way, if we're wearing a uniform, the public can find us if there's an emergency or if they have any questions with maps or whatever they may have. So yes.
This might be cool to you folks as well, is if you're working with museum collections. So the National Park Service has a lot of important museum collections. So paintings, fine art, things of that nature. You wouldn't wear a badge. You would kind of wear either a t-shirt or like a sweater in the fall because you don't want anything rubbing against those museum collections. So it serves a practical purpose.
Very cool.
And why are they, you know, the colors that they are? Why don't you guys have, you know, uniforms that are purple or blue or, you know, paisley? You know, they seem to be very beige, very green, and very brown shoes. Is there a reason for that?
So, you know what, I don't know the exact reason for the colors. However, I can tell you this. When the National Park Service was founded, a little after the turn of the 20th century, this uniform hasn't changed too much. So.
Jaden had said you guys kind of blend in with nature, which is what I thought too.
That's
So
what
I
I
was
was kind of thinking. I don't know if there really is an answer of why our uniforms is the way that it are. It just kind of fits, you know, it fits the environment better than what blue or purple, like she said. I mean, I think it would look interesting if we all were wearing purple. It wouldn't really help us blend in too well. So
The only color variation that we might wear is during hunting season. You'll find a lot of rangers wearing those blaze orange hats to protect us from hunters out in our parks. So that's really the only variation that you might see. But yeah, typically for us, it's just ranger green and then the tan uniforms with, you know, a tan or a green.
So I do know there's a couple people in here that want to study fashion. Maybe as you guys get older, you can help, you know, design new park ranger uniforms. And someone else wanted to know, you know, you mentioned that you wear pants a lot. They said, you know, do you have a choice when you wake up in the day that, hey, today I want to wear park ranger shorts? Because as Regan put it, it is way too hot for them pants.
definitely. I mean, like Justin said, it's really important to understand it depends on the job. I know my uniform, I'm allowed to wear shorts if I'd like to. A lot of times I don't. We have a lot of ticks in this area.
Yeah.
I try not to wear shorts, but I'm able to wear shorts. But normally when you wake up in the morning and look in your closet, it's either green or green. I don't really have much variation, or gray or tan or tan. So.
One of my supervisors has to say, you know, different day, same shirt.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it makes it easy, right? To get dressed in the morning, you don't have to
Absolutely.
decide on your outfit. Any other questions, guys?
I don't think, I haven't seen anything. I know someone had asked about, you know, if they came to visit, is there somewhere where to get snacks? And I mentioned to them that you do have at French Creek, the little snack shack and stuff like that, if someone came and wanted to grab something. And no, Regan, you cannot have coffee and mocha here if you come to the park. No, no coffee for you.
I mean, you'd have to check the concession stand, but probably a lot of people bring like a picnic lunch, or like the campers obviously probably bring their own food, but they're lucky to have a concession stand here because you never know.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because you're in the middle of the woods, right? Our pool's normally open. Our pool's not open this year, but we do have a concession stand located right next to the pool. But a lot of people, like Heather said, bring a lot of their own food, a lot of camping, a lot of cooking on the fire. So a lot of people do a lot of cooking on the fire, which is really good. Because you made it yourself and you made it on fire. So it's really good.
So someone else wanted to know, as far as, you know, starting as a park ranger, I know you mentioned that most people intern. Do they have to be in college to intern, or can a high school student intern?
That's a great question. Actually, I forgot the name of the award right now, but we have a volunteer who was a senior in high school who started volunteering before he graduated high school. And he just won a regional award for his efforts at Hopewell Furnace and donating his time. So absolutely, you can volunteer early in high school, and I encourage you to do so.
Absolutely, that's the best way is to volunteer, getting your name in there. People recognize who you are. Remember, conservation, we're talking about conservation today. A lot of our volunteers are great when it comes to building bird boxes. We have 46 bird boxes in this park that we have to preserve the eastern bluebird species, right? So a lot of our volunteers that maybe even in high school are creating these bird boxes for us. These are natural resource projects that we really appreciate. Bat houses. We got bat houses. I have a bat house I'm gonna show you today.
Yes, let's see the bat house. If somebody wanted to come here to volunteer, do you besides the junior ranger program, is that a possibility to get hooked up with an internship here in the future?
At French Creek State Park,
Yeah.
if someone wanted to,
Mhm.
I will let French Creek State Park.
You can contact one of our, my supervisor, the manager, the assistant park manager. They do have lots of opportunities, and that they do open up volunteer opportunities for high school students as well as college students, and then we do typically have an internship per year, that you can always apply for. So,
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
If you got a pen and pencil, DCNR conservation, remember we're talking about conservation, volunteers. That is the website you go to register a volunteer. And a lot of volunteers like this will build bat boxes for us. So you got your bat box's a little dusty, it was made a little while ago, but you got your bat boxes here. I know some of you joined me last year for a little bit of a bat program, but this is essentially what a bat box looks like. So a lot of our volunteers are gonna be creating these bat boxes. So we can hang them around the park so they eat all of our insects, so we're not swallowing bugs all day.
And you know what?
So
I'll do,
what
everybody?
what exactly does it do? Like, do they go in there?
Yeah,
or
so this is essentially a housing for a bat population. We have a critically endangered bat population here at the park, so we like to have these bat boxes up. They actually crawl up and live in these crevices here. So up to about 50, I would say this one could hold probably about 100 bats.
Stop it. That is
Yeah,
a
so
lot of
the one we
bats.
actually have that metal one out there. I don't know if you saw in the visitor center. That can hold up to about 300. So that metal one is going to be installed here soon. But in order for us to have a bat population, we got to have the smaller bat boxes and increase it to a bigger population. So a lot of volunteers do that. That's a great way to come and volunteer to build some of these boxes with our help in general. So that's just a range variety of what we can do. We have trail work opportunities that a lot of people like to do as well. So we have so many opportunities.
Yeah, and to add on to that, so if you want to volunteer or you want to do internships with the National Park Service, I suggest you go on volunteer.gov. That is the website you need to check out. A lot of the opportunities are for college students and above. However, don't let that discourage you. There are opportunities for younger folks out there, as well as the Student Conservation Association. I did SCA, as it's called, in 2 different internships. And the Student Conservation Association is a great organization. I encourage you to look it up online. So basically, my experience was I applied for an internship at Hopewell Furnace, and through the SCA, I was able to get housing provided. I was able to get a stipend and then some travel expenses as well. And I did a similar one at Flight 93 National Memorial when I was a college student, right after college, and I got an education award that would go towards my student loans. So all these different programs are really worthy to check out. So volunteer.gov, Student Conservation Association, and even AmeriCorps.
Thank you. Great information.
So if some of our friends here, such as our campers like Paul and Jaden, they build a bat box, could they officially go to parents and refer to themselves as Batman?
Sure,
Sure.
why not? Yeah, that works. We like that.
So I will say this, guys, we're about to wrap up. If you have any other questions, please ask now. We did show a bat box last year with Jared. So I will send you guys that video, which was a lot of fun, as well as some of the other videos we've done. We spent a lot of time at French Creek, and for good reason. It's a very, very fun place. You get a chance to go. I know, Jaden, you've gone. A lot of other people mentioned that they haven't. Definitely check it out, or any of the other 121 parks that are in Pennsylvania. They are just a ton of fun to go to and enjoy. It's a great way to get in touch with nature, get in touch with just fun stuff that is right around you that doesn't require a TV or a controller. But any other questions from anybody before we wrap up with our Ranger friends? One thing I will ask, how can we, because with tomorrow it being official World Ranger Day, how can we celebrate? What can we do?
So you can celebrate. There's a lot of channels. There's a lot of stuff on Disney Plus, Discovery Channel that highlights a lot of the Rangers around the world. Once again, it's World Ranger Day, right? It's not just here in North America. It's all the Rangers around the world. And the best thing you can do is probably visit a state park. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful day tomorrow where you are in Pennsylvania or wherever you're located at right now. Always go into the parks, enjoy your time at the park, but also thank a ranger that works there. You know, they spend their weekends, they spend their days out there patrolling, making sure that it is safe for everyone. So, and even attending an educational program, you know, just giving them the time of day to, you know, for you to even learn something. You know, a lot of the times we learn stuff from our audience as well. So that could definitely be a good way to come and celebrate World Ranger Day.
Yeah, I would say,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, I would say a great way to celebrate World Ranger Day is, of course, getting outside and visiting a park near you. And if you can't visit a park, to try to engage in some type of community service work, or even just going on the internet, looking up the location of these parks and just seeing what they have to offer. Because there's many different parks that offer many different stories and ways to explore.
Everybody's thanking you guys. They appreciate what you do.
One question Mackenzie wanted to know was, if you intern, because you mentioned there's different types of rangers, would interns learn like the different ranger jobs, or do you only intern just under like as a desk ranger, or, you know, as an educational ranger?
So you'll essentially do everything. You will do everything. If you're an intern here at one of the state parks or even national parks, I would assume, a lot of times you would learn everything. You know, you're going to be hanging out with our maintenance staff. You're going to be hanging out with me, the naturalist. You're going to be hanging out with a lot of the law enforcement rangers as well. You're going to be learning a lot of the desk stuff as well. So if you have an internship, I know at least for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you will definitely get all of it. And you'll definitely understand the whole jack of all trades thing we've been talking about today.
As for the National Park Service, of course, you're going to wear many hats if you take on an internship. However, that's not a blanket statement. If you apply for, say, a curatorial internship to work with museum collections, you would most likely just be in the curatorial division. If you apply to work at maintenance and you're interested in historic preservation work, which is working on old homes, you would just be working with them. And same with interpretation. So depending on the position is the job that you'll be doing. So just check out the job advertisements on these websites.